These consultation groups, it really has been very useful to shape the strategy together, to consist around 5 work streams to deliver on the pledge. That was really important. So let me thank very much the contact group members who are, many of them are here today to shape and to develop this strategy. And this strategy is important to mention that it has 2 years. So by next year, by mid of next year, we are going to provide an update to this strategy. Next slide, please. So as you see here, at the beginning, we divided the strategy into 2 hubs. First one is to develop the tools that we need. I think every country here has already received last year a questionnaire to track the progress. Some countries responded like with really concrete data, but it has been struggling for most of the countries how to really track their data. The problem, as you are all aware, with the data, it's quite uneasy to collect, especially when you're dealing with several ministries to bring this data together. This year, I will share with you the progress that we have made for this year and afterwards on the data collection. Second point, like when we started to talk about the scaling up actions, how we really deliver. And we considered this within the 5 work streams. So these intermediate objectives, I'm going to share with you in the next slides, our progress and how this is going to be also more developed in the next strategy by next year. Next slide, please. So the 5 work streams is first is, of course, data. Second, as you see, the technical assistance. And this, by the way, it's one of the topics that we will discuss intensively this meeting. Third is the cooling plans, cooling action plans. We have here many countries that we are supporting to develop and formulate their NCAPs, National Cooling Action Plans, and also support them on incorporation of their cooling measures into their indices. Fourth is passive cooling, and 5 is the advocacy and country engagement. Next slide, please. So the first one, our progress that we have done so far from the implementation phase of the pledge, we started with the 2024 annual pledge progress report. I remember Martin already has mentioned this. Last November at COP29, we adopted this report. And now, please let me also take an opportunity to thank you for really reverting back all of the questionnaire with all of the kind of available data at your end to help us share this. And also thanks for sharing the case studies. So this year, let me remind you also that we are sending you another questionnaire, but more enhanced, really enhanced one, simplified and shortened to make sure that we grasp the right data that we require right now to report on our progress by 2025. So by COP30, we will have the second and the annual pledge progress report. The second one is the Global Cooling Watch report. This progress report provided us at the pledge with the science we needed. I think in Lily's presentation already, she mentioned how the science helped us very much to develop the commitments of the pledge. So this year, it's quite special because we have a new focus on the extreme heat interaction and also with rising demand and access inequalities. The second part also that I want to highlight is the stronger heat demand link. So this report, it doesn't only provide progress for signatories, which are here, but also for the entire global membership of countries. And this allows us to even get more data that it can help us enhance the pledge implementation as well, along with other non-signatory countries. The third one is a public dashboard. We already have developed this, and right now it's in the last phase to launch as part of the Climate Action Dashboard of UNEP. This is like how we already have been supporting, according to the strategy, the member and the signatory countries on tracking data. Yeah. So the second item is how we track how we develop progress on our products to enhance the implementation. The first one was the, according to our working groups, and along with lots of partners, we developed the first NCAP methodology, the National Cooling Action Plan. And when we developed this back into 2021, right now we have seen that we need to contextualize the work of the NCAPs to fit more certain regions. So let me take really a moment to say that thanks very much for other partners, because one of the projects that's happening right now is the regional NCAP methodology for MENA region. And we are doing this along with partners, including this, some of the partners are already here. And we started actually the implementation of one of the NCAPs here, also with Morocco, for example. We start to work this. We are going to activate more NCAPs with more countries here. And also, we started to have one of the advisory groups that includes so far 12 countries to consult on this regional methodology to make it more contextualized and helpful for countries. Second is we started to, of course, we are launching already this Monday the NDC Cooling Guide. And this guide, it has been a product of 10 collaborators. Thanks even for the GIZ, one of the collaborators was us in this. And we consulted through this process with 8 countries to provide us their insights and how to make it as much as we can friendly user for them, and especially to their practitioners to use this guide. And also this is the NDC Cooling Guide. And the third one is also, of course, country investment roadmap. And right now we are also in the last phase to launch this investment roadmap along with our partner, the World Bank. And this is going to help very much the countries in order to implement their NCAPs. So we don't want to formulate NCAPs and just place it anywhere, but when we implement it through the investment roadmaps, it's going to be very useful and enhance the pledge implementation. Next slide, please. So, of course, quite important that we keep the momentum that we started at the COP28, and we started with an array of activities that we do together. First one, as you see on the first photo, from the most left up, the co-presidencies, like we're the first annual ministerial that has taken place in the COP29. You see the 2 ministers, like Her Excellency Dr. Amna from the UAE, and also Anatoni, the CEO and of the COP30 presidency and the Vice Minister. And also we have been supporting and engaging very much with the G7 and G20 presidency on including cooling into their agenda. Also, last year we welcomed 16 new signatories. That was really a good number, and hopefully this year we are going to increase this number to more like 30 so we can reach 100. This is a milestone for us. Also, right now, this also marks one of the really good platforms that we started together, and hopefully we finalize all of the agenda items like today and tomorrow, so we can have a very successful focal point meeting. Importantly, also, one of the items about the Cool Champions, this is an initiative we are also agreeing on today. This is going to recognize the countries who are really accelerating and excelling on their cooling implementation, according to that pledge. And last but not least, our call to action from our General Secretary, Antonio Guterres, on taking an action on cooling to extreme heat. Next slide, please. Yeah. So last but not least, we are going to discuss the priorities for this year. And I leave this later on to my colleague, Mariam Touhami, to discuss the EPIC enabling pledge for cooling implementation. This is something that we want to discuss. You know, the establishment phase of the pledge has taken place already last year, and this year we're moving towards more implementation. And I would like really to say that we have received last year several requests from countries. I need support here on this NDC. I need support here on NCAP. I need support on just to develop an online tool. So we started to think of a programmatic approach of a framework on how to accelerate the implementation of the pledge as a secretariat of the Cool Coalition. And today we are going to discuss in detail more later on the EPIC, and also how to coordinate along with partners to mobilize more funds for this. Also, the establishment that we are going to discuss today, and later on, hopefully, we adopted the IGCC, it's going to help very much to accelerate the implementation as well, when we are all inclusively within just a complete and comprehensive committee that we can decide together and move fast. With that, thank you very much. You, Ms. Co-Chair.
Thank you, Ahmed. We are also developing the National Action Plan, which is, I believe, is critical for coordinating and engaging various ministers for effective implementation. We benefit from the coalition NCAP methodology, the NDC guidance, and the policy toolkit. I will encourage the rest of the countries to do the same. So here I will hand it over to Mariam Touhami to talk about the EPIC.
So what we're going to try to do now is we're going to try to show you how concretely we can do projects in your countries. So as you know, as you may know, more than 1.2 billion people are at risk because of extreme heat. And I am sure that all of you, in your countries, there is an issue of extreme heat. So, of course, the demand will triple by 2050, and 10% of all the emissions projected are related to cooling alone. So I think we have to identify projects, concrete projects in your countries that we can implement under this EPIC facility. So of course, like it was clearly mentioned, the Global Cooling Pledge was launched in COP28. It has 72 countries. So I believe that if we can have only, I would say, half of the countries implementing real projects, then I think we should be happy to do it, and we should be happy with the results. Next, please. So, of course, the problem, yes, there is a pledge. Yes, it was launched, but the issue is what? Only 25% of the countries have already enabled policies, okay? And, of course, technical assistance is quite insufficient. A lot of countries, they usually complain not having enough technical assistance to help them structure and develop projects locally. And of course, as usual, the lack of money, the lack of banking providing funding for that kind of technology, the lack of innovative financial mechanisms, the lack of the willingness of the banks to go and take one step forward to finance either renewable technologies, passive cooling, or anything that is really related to cooling. Next slide, please. So what can we do? So what we would like to do, and what we would like to present to you today, is to put together a facility called Enabling Pledge Implementation for Cooling. So we see that EPIC, it goes from the pledges that all the countries have identified and secured and said that they will pledge to this, to this thematic, but also to plans. So now they plan, but then what is usually missing is the local impact. How can we move from pledges to plans to local impact, where we're gonna combine technical assistance and finance to make your projects live? So of course, there are 3 steps: the pledges, the technical assistance, which we call EPIC solutions. So we're going to have all the countries coming up with your cool ideas, and then you're going to transfer them to us, and then we're going to try to find you some very hot solutions. And by making them hot, we have to bring you money. And to bring you money, we have to talk to banks. We have to talk to donors. We have to talk to any countries, bilateral donors, countries, philanthropies, anybody who is willing to provide funding to help encourage the banking sector coming and finance your projects. Today, we have received, thanks to the Italian ministry, $2 million for 2025 to do a project both in Djibouti and in Brazil. And thanks to the Italian ministry, and especially to Mrs. Pansini, who was on the screen earlier, who really pushed for us to get this initial $2 million. So what we will do, we're going to structure innovative financial model in both Djibouti and Brazil. I have been in discussion with Djibouti for quite a few months. I think they are online as well. Mr. Gouled, I think he's online. And then we're going to be working with the Djibouti Energy Ministry. And then we're going to be working with local banks. And then the funding that we have from the Italian ministry will kind of soften the conditions of the loans for the people to buy a photovoltaic system, to be connected to a very efficient energy conditioner, because in Djibouti, more than 60% of the electricity bill is for cooling. Ideally, and I say that to my colleague from Djibouti who might be listening to us because he wasn't able to fly, is that to work with the state utility, where we can involve them. But for the moment, we're having difficulty convincing the state utility because, of course, if we use photovoltaic, it is less revenues for the state utility. They will be selling less electricity. So what we have decided The banks will provide a loan, softened by, the conditions will be softened by the money provided by Italy, and then the people will be able to take the loan, buy the equipment. The reimbursement of the loan will be lower than what they currently pay on their electricity bill. Currently, it will be lower. They will be paying a loan for 5 years, and then it is all free. Meaning that in Djibouti, I've been to many countries, but I think I've never seen or been in a country where it gets 50 degrees, but there is no air conditioning. It's not like in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi or in all those nice countries. There's nothing. You can't sleep. People in the summer, they leave the country for 2 months. They leave. So the restaurants closes, the shops closes, because the people cannot bear the heat. So they prefer to go and spend the 2 months in Ethiopia, where it is cooler. So this is Djibouti. For Brazil, I was in Brazil last week, and I've been in discussion with Caixa Econômica Federal, which is a national bank that provides loans, mortgages for social houses. And the idea, we've been also talking with some developers, where we're going to create a mechanism with Caixa Econômica Federal, how they can provide loan. They are providing loans. How we can make it, if we include the passive cooling into the social houses, they will make the loans that are given to the Brazilian citizens cheaper. So we have not yet gotten into the detail of the discussions, but we're maybe thinking of softening the interest rate to make a 0% interest rate. We will be using the additional 1 million from the Italian ministry. So the idea for us is really to understand what is the need, to understand how we can create a market by working with the local banks to make it sustainable over time. And then how we can kick off. So I think it's very important for us to really today to receive the ideas from the different countries. I have some ideas for some, but of course, I think there is real possibility here to really do concrete projects and establishing and developing real markets using efficient technologies, passive cooling in some countries, especially for the category, the most vulnerable one, where they really do not have any possibility to buy an air conditioning. So it is very important that we hear from you today, your ideas that you can send us. Next slide, please. So this is the technical assistance. So you will send us your ideas. We will analyze them. We will evaluate them. And then, of course, they will be all connected to the pledge. And then it is an online portal that Lily will be better than me to talk about it. I am more in the finance side. But the idea is really to get your ideas, to what you think for your country, what can be done, and then we help you through this technical assistance facility to design the whole project that can be then bankable by your local banks. So, of course, we also work with some, for example, we're currently working with the African Development Bank for Africa to put together a facility for cooling. So I think the idea is really first to start with your ideas, because if we do not know what the needs are, I know that there are some national plans are being put together, but normally you know what, I mean, I can go to any country, I can tell you, you know, what we can do or we cannot do. We don't need to wait for 2 years to have a national plan ready to really start thinking and brainstorming on projects to be implemented. Next slide, please. So how this finance facility, technical facility will work. So of course you will send your request, your idea, what you would like to have to see happen. The Secretariat will review it. We will check the eligibility, and then we will help you to matchmaking with the banks. We will help you to make it a sustainable and a bankable project, and something that you can also sell at the ministry level, because all the projects that we do are usually all the time in partnership with the national government. Next slide, please. So those are the different EPIC solutions that we can offer. We will have a portal with a solutions catalog, and it can involve all kind of, it can be national planning, it can be renewable energy cooling, investment roadmap, anything that can be, this is just few solutions. We will have a lot more in the portal, so it will help you to identify your need and to send us a request. Next, please. So this is the finance accelerator, what we call EPIC Deploy. So for me, what is important, this is what I was describing for you, what the thing we would like to do in Brazil and in Djibouti, is really to drive investment, and that investment comes from banks. And sometimes we believe that we need a lot of money to do something. It's not true. Sometimes the banks are willing to provide financing. They just need an incentive. They just need for us to cover the risk. So sometimes with a little bit of money, with $1-2 million, we can leverage a lot more from the local banks. So I think the EPIC Finance Accelerator, it will help the countries to move from plans to piloting innovative finance models. We will need to develop for you countries viable business cases. We will help you to link the technical assistance that we were when I give you previously to real investment opportunities. And then we will have all kind of financial mechanism. And each country is different. Each country has, sometimes we can work with public banks. Sometimes we can be with central banks. Some countries, they only have private banks. So every single country will be different. The solutions and the financial mechanisms will be tailored to that country. So I think the beauty of this kind of event is really to hear from you what you need. And so same thing, you will tell us what you need, you will go through technical assistance, and then us as UNEP and our partners and our governments and our government partners from the different countries, we will provide some grants. And this is where we will identify how the grants will be used. You know, for example, the 1 million for Italy, from Italy for Djibouti, we're going to be using it to subsidize or to soften, I would say, the cost of the loans that the people can take, to bring the loan repayment equal to the savings. And of course, we're going to start with 2 pilots because we do have the funding, and I urge any government or country or philanthropy or any who will be interested to join this effort. And of course, the idea is to replicate it to most of the countries. We have 72 countries in the pledge. I mean, I would say if we can do half, I'll be a happy person. And this is it. And this is how we will go from the pledges to technical assistance as EPIC solutions, and to EPIC Deploy, how we're going to provide financing for your projects. Thank you very much.
And definitely, it's great to see that you consider the finance as a gap and a barrier into the APEC deployment, including the collaboration with Brazil. So I would like to invite my co-chair, His Excellency Adalberto, for a moment of reflection and to open the floor for the discussion. Your Excellency.
Hello, everybody. Well, so we've seen that there have been many progress in different countries, different subnational governments, but we do understand there is still a lot of barriers, so that the implementation of most of these the measures that we can do on cooling, on sustainable construction, on passive, some are technical, financial, policy, data. So I think right now would be important for us to hear from the countries and partners that are here, what would be these major barriers and ideas, and how the EPIC facility would support us into the national implementation. I really think that the EPIC, enabling pledge implementation for cooling, is a really important action on the ground. I feel that a lot of times our technical people inside the ministers They are aware of what they have to do. They know a little bit about the topics, but they haven't been really working too much. They don't have the political support in order to engage all the stakeholders to be effectively delivering. In the case of most of these actions, you need coordination among different ministers, environment and climate, energy, industry. We know how challenging it is sometimes that all the ministers have a common approach. Some ministers want to protect the industry and they think it's harder to push too much standards. The Minister of Energy is thinking only about the energy part of it and doesn't consider, passive cooling or the sustainable construction things. And we as Minister of Environment, we want to put everybody together and move. But it hasn't been easy to get the political commitments. And when we do have the political commitments, like we do have right now in Brazil, after many meetings, everybody together, getting a common position, but then we lack the technical people's capacity to deliver. And we all know that the window of opportunity for some public policies, when you have the political word together with the technical word, sometimes this window of opportunity are very narrow. And if you lose the timing to advance the policies, then the government is thinking about something else and can't deliver on the right time. So I think there are gaps in the current design and adjustments that a lot of the countries have. In our case in Brazil, most of the building codes, most of the legislations that apply to new constructions or existing constructions or requirements for the social housing projects are in the hands of mayors and governors. So this is challenging. Last year, we launched the Green Resilient Cities program that integrates the Minister of Cities, the Minister of Environment, and Minister of Science and Technology. It was a presidential decree. I'm the national coordinator of this plan. And it was very good for us to work with the Development Bank, Caixa, Minister of Cities. We added a lot of solar, passive cooling, and different things initially on the social housing program. But then in order to deliver, the private sector, when they ask for the money, they need to add this into their own projects. So it's not only about changing the rules on the national. If the private sector, when they get the money, they don't request or they don't do in their projects all those things that we want, it would never happen. If the city doesn't change its building code in order to make it mandatory or voluntary, some programs on that, also we would not deliver as we want or we could. So I think it would be important right now for us to hear from some of the partners and countries here what will be this major technical, financial, policy, and data-related barriers, and how could we all think together and use EPIC as a technical assistant facility that can create local knowledge at the countries, at the cities, and not only on the consultancy and on the papers, because normally, we don't have technical people, so we hire consultancies, they do the plans, but if it's not internalized later, we could lose the timing. So please, I think, I'm sorry, it's a little bit for Morocco. Yes, great. Morocco, please, first.
Thank the organizers of this event for their kind invitation, and to congratulate them for the excellent organization of this important gathering, because cooling is a major strategic issue in terms of public health, food security, energy performance, and the fight against climate change. So I would like to share. I would like to take this opportunity to share a Moroccan experience from the starting, because we start with the developments in 2021. We start with the development of the mitigation action plan for ACLCP with the partnership with the CCAC, for technical and financial assistance, and it was for HFC, methane, black carbon, and ozone. With the global methane pledge, we had financial support, and we developed, we had the financing for some projects like methane assessments and the establishment of methane roadmap in different emitting sectors. And after that, we had a project with the methane assessments in three landfills, and the proposed action and measures for mitigation and the recovery of methane in these landfills, energetic recovery and valorization of in different ways. And now we are working on a project relative to mitigation of methane in agricultural sector. And after that, in this continuing partnership, and with the launching of a global cooling pledge, we have a financial support to address a national cooling action plan. So for this project, we start the launching on May 2025, and we adopt an integrated and participative approach. So from the beginning, we involve all the stakeholders concerned by the cooling. So we have like a transport sector, health sector, agriculture, industry, and fisheries. So and we involve also the private sector. So we launched the kickoff meeting on May, and the day after we had a steering committee, and for to define the role and all the tasks for this steering committee, even for because we. The first we have the methodological approach, and we share it with all the partners, and after that we elaborate the terms of reference. We share them, terms of reference related to data collection, and another consulting firm for modeling and NCAP report. So and another meeting we had it with the association of the industry operators concerned by the cooling, because the success of these projects is founded for involving all the participants and all the stakeholders. And now we are, the studies and the collecting the data are in the process. And also, and this project, this project is with the partner of with the RICRI. Dr. Hassanin is here now, and also we support the reviewing of indices, because we are encouraging, because it's another directorate who is working on climate change topic and is reviewing the indices, but our directorate is motivating to integrate all the four ACLCP in the process of reviewing indices, and also we are promoting the integration of HFC and all the all measures of mitigation HFC. And I finally want to emphasize the link between the GMP, the Global Methane Pledge, and the GCP, Global Cooling Pledge, because we have energy efficiency, we have a lot of things which is linked. Thank you very much. And sorry for my modest English.
So next one, Granada, please. Yes, Granada.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and good morning, colleagues. First of all, I would like to join the chorus of previous speakers to thank the organizers for the excellent arrangements thus far and for the very warm welcome that I've received in this very beautiful and historic city. I would also like to thank the presenters, the two previous presenters, and in particularly for highlighting this epic facility. And I think its name is very appropriate based on how it was described and the highlights of this particular facility. I would want to address the three questions that are posted on the screen in the context of Grenada and the support that this facility can provide. So first of all, with regards to the challenge, we would all agree that finance has been a major challenge for especially small island developing states like ours. Grenada being a very small island, less than 120,000 persons in the population, 133 square miles. We have particular challenges, and one of them is finance. I would want to say that under the Montreal Protocol, financing is being made available, especially for the Kigali implementation plans, but we continue to argue that the financing that is available there is grossly insufficient. And I want to quickly add that we are very grateful for the financial assistance provided by the Montreal Protocol, but we continue to contend that it is grossly insufficient to meet our first phase down target in 2029 of a 10% reduction in these HFCs. Another of the challenge that is closely related to this finance is that of the supply chain issues. So in the case of Grenada, we have a national cooling action plan that is very ambitious in its nature to leapfrog the high global warming potential HFCs straight into natural refrigerants. But there are supply chain issues that are limiting the scope and the extent to which we can implement this national cooling action plan. And so we have opted to go for these ambitious actions, and so this EPIC facility here now can be an additional source of co-financing that can really augment the programs and policies that we have in place to aggressively and ambitiously phase down these HFCs. We must also put into sharp focus the special circumstances of small island developing states and low volume consuming countries with respect to our peculiar vulnerabilities to the adverse impact of climate change. And in particular, I want to highlight the issue of size and scale and being able to attract investment because of sheer size. And so in many instances, suppliers are very reluctant to look towards low volume consuming countries because of the economies of scale and the bankability of many of the projects and initiatives that we want to undertake. I'm seeking a point of clarification, though, from the presenter with regards to the operationalization of the fund. A lot of emphasis has been placed on the technical assistance, but in my point of view from where I sit, I think we need to even move a little further from technical assistance, because we do receive a lot of support for technical assistance. But I think where the rubber hits the road and where the real difference can be made in implementation is with investment type activities. How do we remove all of these high global warming potential refrigerant technologies and replace them with natural or lower GWP? And that's where financing is really needed for us to create the kind of impact that any funding can towards achieving those climate and ozone targets of the Montreal Protocol or within the sustainable cooling sector. So the clarification that I'm seeking is whether or not the fund is merely for technical assistance to develop these projects, or if it has a component that takes into account more investment type projects that can make a more meaningful impact. And the last thing I want to make in this intervention is that many of the speakers earlier on today have highlighted three main pillars of sustainable cooling. So we've looked at passive cooling, we've looked at energy efficiency, and we've looked at faster phase down of the refrigerants. But I want to offer, just for consideration, some other areas that we have embedded in our National Cooling Action Plan that supports sustainable cooling. And that has to do with the building infrastructure. It has to do with behavioral changes that needs to be made in terms of the temperatures we set our air conditioners at, in terms of the preventative maintenance, in terms of introducing artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things, and also the whole aspect of powering these systems with renewable energy as opposed to the conventional means that we are currently using with the high fossil fuels. And all of that is embedded within our National Cooling Action Plan, together with a communication strategy so that the end users can be perfectly informed on the technology choices that are available and move in that direction. So again, I want to say special thanks for this facility, because I believe countries like Grenada and others can significantly benefit from it. But I just want just seeking some clarification as to the extent to which we can apply for initiatives under this funding. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. So you raised one issue, one question that was the supply chain issues before I get to the finance. It is true that in developing countries, like in mine, I'm from Morocco, when we put together a finance mechanism without thinking of creating the demand, which then will create the supply. For example, I'll give you, if you want to, for example, do, it's very hard for, I'll give you the example of Djibouti because I studied it quite long time and I think we came up with something. So it's true that in Djibouti, for example, there is no real supply for very efficient air conditioning. There is none. There is no real supply of photovoltaic systems because it's a very, very small country. But then the demand is there. We need to trigger the demand. You need to help the demand to say, I need a PV system and I need a very efficient air conditioning. And then once you have a demand, and this is where the role of EPIC, we, with the funding that we receive from the different partners, we kind of structure and we try to address that demand. But how do we address the demand? By first structuring the supply chain, by identifying the eligible suppliers that are good, have good equipment. So we do a call for tender, we evaluate the suppliers that are good. We then bring, even if there is no manufacturer on the ground, there are importers. So we work with them, we train the installers. So we start creating the demand, the supply chain at the same time. And then when the demand increases, those importers, and I've seen it in some other countries, they said, oh, you know what, it's working quite well. Why don't I do and implement a manufacture in my country? And I can then export to my neighboring countries in Africa. So you first create the supply, the demand side, which is first, because the demand drives the supply. And then for the financing, you know, sometimes we are not, I mean, what I was talking about, we're not like building big plants where we need billions or millions of dollars. No. We need, it's kind of decentralized work. You need, as a citizen, $1,000 to buy that equipment. And then if you multiply that 1,000 by the number of the population, it becomes big numbers. But the risk is not on the project. The risk is on your head as a person who will be buying that equipment, like when you buy a car. So here, we work with local banks, who in many countries, they do have liquidity, and when they do not have liquidity, we bring in the MDPs, like the African Development Bank, the Asian Bank, the larger banks that then provide a loan to those local banks, which we subsidize to ensure a subsidy going to the end user. So it is true that when we talk a lot about energy, or we think about billions of dollars, but this is to build plants, not what we would like to do under EPIC. Under EPIC, we would like to convince the developers who build houses, you know, so we're working with them and to give them incentives to do the passive cooling equipment, for example. And then for each developer, once again, he is getting his own loan from his bank. But he is not going to do that extra cost because there's nobody to pay for it. And this is what EPIC will do. So I think instead of thinking big think in billions, we think small, and then we merge them, and then it becomes millions of dollars. So I strongly believe in countries like ours in Africa, we start from the bottom. I mean, of course, we can do large plans like we have done in Morocco, the Noor, but this is not what the need. We need each one of us to have in his house passive cooling measures, energy efficient equipment in each individual house, because it helps educate our children. It helps also to show how we can convince the banks to provide the lending to the people. So, yeah, I think the EPIC can really play that role of bringing both the banks and the technical assistance. We will help you identify as a country where the needs are.
Thank you for the explanation. I think it makes a lot of sense. I can quote the example of Brazil. I used to be the vice president of the Solar Photovoltaic Association a couple years ago when we created all the demand side with the government, with the bids and the tender. Brazil was number 17 in the world on solar. Then just last year, after we did also the 1 million rooftops for social housing, Brazil became number 6 in the world of solar, just because of all this demand. And then the new industry plan that we approved brought all the incentives to local production. We had 4 new facilities, factories producing. Now we are very close to Germany. Hopefully we'll pass Germany very soon, so we can get the number 5th position on solar. But I agree, I think the demand part is very important. But of course, initially we needed technical assistance and be able to finance the deployment. So it was a very good questions. So next, I will call my distinguished friend from Ghana, please.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And just taking the cue from what Grenada did, since Ghana is taking the forum for the first time, I would like to thank the organizers for this wonderful opportunity. So just looking at what has been discussed, Ghana was very much interested in the pledge when it was launched in Dubai. And some of the main priorities we have looked at is about cooling, specifically appliances. So what we have done is to prioritize the kind of appliances that are coming into the country. We have set up minimum energy performance standards for air conditions and refrigerators. Now, sub-Saharan Africa, Ghana was the first country to pass these regulations as far back as 2005. And just recently in 2022, we have revised the regulation because technology keeps on changing. And so the regulation we had did not make provision for inverter type of air conditioners. So we had to make sure that the new standards and labeling was looking at the seasonal calculation in terms of energy efficiency ratios, and also taking into consideration the refrigerant component, which is regulated by the Environmental Protection Agency. So mentioning about the phasing down of HFCs, that is very critical because we have tried to tie the two performance of efficiency to also the refrigerant. And so on our energy label, we have made provision for the efficiency levels, the type of refrigerant, and the global warming potential that they contain. This is going to make it very easy for consumers to purchase in terms of efficiency, but also pay attention to environmental consideration. Now, this also has guided the manufacturers to be able to produce according to this requirement. We have over 90% of our imports coming from China. So one of the initiatives we did was to take the bull by the horn, to go to the exporting countries, engage them in a conversation and the minimum requirement. And that was an initiative that we took, which has helped. Now, the major concern, having done all of these internal arrangements, is also about sharing the responsibility, because we are not manufacturing per se, but importing. So there needs to be the, double-edged sword, where the exporting country is also taking the responsibility to make sure that items that they have phased out or phased down because the developed countries have a quicker timelines compared to the developing country. So like Grenada mentioned, we have up to 2029, whereas the developed countries are facing down much earlier. So what happens to the products? Obviously, they are going to find another market. And that goes into the issue about what we call environmental dumping of the new inefficient containing obsolete refrigerants. So Africa is struggling because we keep on receiving banks of these equipments, which are cooling. So in our efforts to meet the cooling pledge, we still have a challenge to deal with the excess, cooling appliances which are coming in and containing obsolete refrigerants, which is a burden on us. So one of the priority is how do we handle the life cycle refrigerant management of these cooling appliances? So we would want to see how EPIC can, support countries to be able to do that and take advantage of it. The additional one I want to mention is on buildings. We have also taken the initiative to introduce energy efficiency in buildings. Ghana has the building code, which has been developed by the Ghana Standards Authority. We also have the building regulation, which has been developed by the Ministry of Works and Housing. Now, the Energy Commission, where I work, is the government regulatory authority, which is in charge of energy efficiency. So you realize that these are separate institutions. Now, how do we collaborate? And so one key thing I would want to mention is institutional collaboration. There has to be an effort where all these agencies are coming together, putting together the policies that are in place, and making sure that the enforcement is being done. So we are coming up with the energy efficiency in building requirements that will look at both passive and then active, and also emphasizing on the cooling equipment that will be installed in these homes to make sure that good technology, efficient technology containing low GWP refrigerants are also imported into our country. The last one is that I would like to encourage that even though the Energy Commission is looking at, provisions on energy efficiency, we also have the environmental ministries, which are looking at the refrigerants. And then you have the focal persons for the UNFCCC, also looking at emissions. So how do we make sure that these three institutions are working together, or individuals in charge of this? Otherwise, we'll have a lot of silos. Whilst we are talking about emissions, the Montreal Protocol and the ozone officers are looking at refrigerants, and then the energy team is also looking at something else. So I would want to emphasize that for the pledge to be implemented very well, we need to find a common ground to make sure that these agencies are working together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, distinguished scholars from Ghana. I think you brought also very important issues, not only on the regulations on energy efficiency, but also on labeling. I think it was a great idea because we are just now in Brazil trying to update our labeling on energy efficiency. So I think it would be good to try to bring the greenhouse gas impact. And also for mentioning the importance of, the life cycle, the end of life, but especially the work between the different agencies and stakeholders. How we're going to integrate this with the Montreal Protocol, Kigali Amendment, and all the things. I think it's something very important for us to see.
I think back in 2012, the Pacific Islands has been implementing the minimum energy performance standards. And out of the most of the countries, only few countries managed to do with the policies, the cooling policies, especially for MEPSEL. And the NOU are being currently implemented under UNEP. In terms of passive cooling, most of the countries haven't adopted strategies within the passive cooling. I think the need for most of the regional countries in the Pacific now is, for Solomon Islands especially, we're looking at the development of the national cooling plan, and probably we can have it in a regional level for most of the little Pacific countries as well. And in terms of private sector engagement, it would be really great if this initiative is driven from the private sector, especially engaging most of our small enterprises to actually drive with audits. It will be helpful to give some of those opportunities for them to really drive this initiative. I think that's all from my end, from Solomon Islands. Thank you.
Thank you, colleague from the Solomon Islands. I think this auditing process is something very interesting to see how we can get. Even in São Paulo, we tried to do a legislation on this many years ago, and we were not able to pass. Like 20 years ago, when I used to work there at the city of São Paulo, the environment secretary. So you see that we saw many cities doing this around the world, and I think it will be very important because it can also prevent leakage, and support the installation. It's great. So now we have our distinguished colleague from Somalia online. So please, Somalia, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Am I audible, please?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much again. And I really appreciate for this opportunity to intervene and also, come on online. And I also agree that the many challenges that we are currently facing, we are similar to the what we have just said, my colleague from Ghana and the respected countries. We are all also welcome also this focal point meeting and express our really appreciation to United Arab Cooling Coalition and the governments of Germany, Italy, and the United Arab Emirates for organizing this important meeting. While I am not able, today to be present here due to the delay in my visa issuance, we reaffirm as Somalia our strongest commitment to pursue to the pledge and its objectives. As you are aware, that Somalia is among the countries mostly affected by rising temperature and extreme heat due to the climate change. We are also limited access to modern cooling and also energy access. But our national priority to scale up and also introduce the passive and affordable cooling solutions. This will be as an essential and for protecting livelihood and also the public service. Looking ahead in Somalia and forward to strengthening our future collaboration with the UNEP and also other international partners to integrate sustainable cooling and practice to our updated indices. And we really appreciate for Cooling Secretariat and also with the Switzerland for their engagement and also interest also to support Somalia. In this context, Somalia is prioritized, for the implementation of the village. And to start with, development of national cooling action plan and aligned with our climate priorities. We also support capacity building and technical assistance to support these activities. One of the major challenges in access for electrification using renewable energy in order to ensure that as enable environment for the cooling solution as a viable solution of grid and other for the underserved communities. And also the passive cooling applications. It's really new technology to our country. Also, we need support on that. We prioritize also in the cold chains and for storage and also agricultural productivity as well. Access to finance also is really a very important area. Also, we need kind of collaborations and we'll further engage our implementation for the pledge. These all areas, and we currently also working on the implementation of our recently developed national energy efficiency action plan. Also, one of the issues that my colleague Ghana has mentioned, the maps and others also still we are working for the development phase. So all these areas also will really contribute our cooling pledge initiatives. And I would like, to congratulate the cooling secretariat and also the facility as well for this organization. I look forward to engaging with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, our colleagues from Somalia, for all the comments. So we're to try to move a little bit faster here. Let me pass directly already to our colleagues from India, from Tamil Nadu state, so we can hear a little bit about the perspective of the subnational governments, please.
Thank you. As all other states and the country has told, I think this is an excellent opportunity for us to share experiences and to learn mutually. At this onset, I thank UNEP for this opportunity. And to highlight some of the important things, I think I have tomorrow, then I'll be able to talk about the works that we have been doing at the subnational level. But I would like to flag certain things, from country like India. We have been doing significantly well in the RE sector, and we've also got aim in terms of becoming net zero by 2070. And as a state of Tamil Nadu, we have an aim of becoming net zero by 2060. Having said that, we are working extremely hard in handling different challenges we are facing because of extreme climatic events, and heat is one such event. Recently, the state government declared heat as a state-specific disaster, and that gives us an opportunity of utilizing disaster funds exclusively for heat mitigation and to streamline heat action at the city level and at all levels, local levels even. So having said that, we are exploring opportunities of utilizing or exploring the opportunities of district cooling systems. And one major challenge that we find is that we had a kind of an visit to Singapore, which was facilitated by GIZ and UNEP 2 years back. And we got exposed to what is this technology is all about. And with support of UNEP, we went about doing, and to analyze the opportunity of DCS in Tamil Nadu. But we find that the investments in adopting this kinds of solution is really huge. So that needs a kind of a good level support in terms of financial assistance. And today in the presentation by UNEP, I see that you have extremely streamlined and you focus on how this finance could be roped in. And for a country like India and a state like Tamil Nadu, which is definitely leading a lot of pioneering initiatives, having in terms of SDG goals as well. We have the sub-nation level, we are in the rank number 1 in terms of the SDG goal 13, which talks about climate action. And we would definitely love to explore the opportunities of DCS, but for the support of alternate agencies in providing financial assistance, I think that would be made possible. This is point number 1. 2, as one of the friends who spoke earlier, they say that it's been like a lot of work is being done, but it's all happening in silos. And it's high time that we integrate these things into one common platform, and a lot of learnings from countries which are tropical, which are as equal, this kind of temperature and the kind of scenarios we face in the tropical countries. I think a lot of learning has to be happening, and platform to exchange these ideas and to learn from the best practices should definitely be helping us. Having said that, tomorrow I'll also be talking about a lot of initiatives what we have been doing at the subnational level, which is not just supporting the other states in the country to be getting inspired, but also a few other countries could also be taking lead in it. But what we are actually interested is not just building on strategies or documents or exploring opportunities. We really want to translate things in action. Not just us, I think many other countries would also be agreeing that we need to see projects working on ground, translating into results. We have got large commitments and ambitions, But unless and until we break the challenge of getting these strategies implemented at the ground and to see them work and show results, I think that's definitely going to be inspiring the political people, definitely to take lead, and also to other countries to come forward to support. I think these are the kind of expectations we have. I would like the chair to record it and possibly see if some support could be given. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, distinguished colleague from Tamil Nadu in India. I think you raised a very important question about deaths that we have been facing around the world on urban heat. I think the World Health Organization estimates between 200 and 350,000 deaths per year on extreme heat. So I think this idea of transforming heat as a possible disaster action so that we can get access to funds, like Brazil has big funds on disasters too, but we never use it considering this perspective. So I think it's a really good idea. So now I'll pass to Commodore, please. Then later, our colleague from Iraq.
Okay, thank you for giving me the floor. Many thanks to UNEP and the countries involved in this initiative. I'm a French speaker, and according to my information, Lily has a translator here. So I prefer speak French to better convey my message. Ok, ok. Bah, je suis vraiment désolée, mais la barrière de la langue fait un peu défaut.
She's saying, I'm so sorry for the language barrier.
Mais étant comorien, les Comores fait partie des petits États insulaires en développement. Mon pays, c'est un pays volcanique et comme tous les pays africains, je crois que le même problème qui se pose, ou bien la majorité des pays africains, c'est le problème de l'énergie, le problème énergétique. Et j'espère que toutes ces initiatives qui vont pour plaider pour le développement de mécanismes de financement qui peuvent nous aider à lutter contre ces chaleurs extrêmes dans certains de nos villes et pays. J'espère que c'est accompagné avec des initiatives énergétiques.
So, being from Comoros, that is a small island developing state, the problem is mainly related to energy, and so we hope that all these initiatives will come with financing mechanism so that we can face these constraints, energy constraints.
Pour ma part, je crois que il est temps déjà de passer à l'action parce que on a fait plein de documents, les NDC, les NAP pour l'adaptation et tout ça. Pour ma part, je crois qu'il est temps de passer directement parce que c'est quand même urgent. Parmi les initiatives et mécanismes de financement que nous souhaiterions procéder suite à cette initiative, je crois que la climatisation des bâtiments, les écoles, les hôpitaux, les centres de soins, c'est vraiment un problème urgent parce que voilà, on ne peut pas espérer des solutions d'adaptation, des solutions d'atténuation sans penser à ces secteurs clés, qui font partie du quotidien.
So, in my opinion, it is urgent to take action. We've been working on plans, on NCAPs, and so now we really want urgently to move towards implementation. Also, it's really important to think about cooling and air conditioning in centers like hospitals, and so we would like to focus on this industry.
C'est tout, je crois que vous avez traduit un peu, non? Ok, là c'est bon.
Okay,
Ça
so
fait partie, ça fait partie des initiatives que les Comores espérons avoir dans cette initiative.
So air conditioning in particular are part of the initiatives that Comoros wants to move forward and towards the implementation of the pledge. Yeah,
Ah, c'est bon. Merci beaucoup au translateur.
thank you. Thanks.
Merci beaucoup. I think it's also very important to raise this more specific approach. For example, hospitals is the same idea in Brazil to focus on hospitals and schools because it's easier for you to have a target. So I'll pass now to my colleague from Iraq. Then later I'll give the floor to Micronesia and Armenia. But before I'll just pass to Asher so we have any comments. But please, Iraq.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. From Iraq. Thank you, Amr and Miriam, for your presentation. It's included many important issues. Regarding the NDC, when we're talking about the NDC, we know this document is considered the umbrella national strategies in climate change issues. For these reasons, that's very important collaborating with the UN agencies to engagement the countries to implementing this strategy by sectorial activities, including assessment, the financial and technology requirements. And about the developing national cooling action plan for Iraq and its implementation through investment roadmap, Iraq is very interested to explore the support package from UNEP Cooling Coalition to make this happen. About the biannual cooling report, we believe we can making integration between this report with the biennial transparency report, BTR. And we think that's very important, focusing on the support of countries to establishing MRV system to follow up all activities and establishing capacity building and support the countries to follow up this emission according to IPCC softwares. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Iraq, especially for raising the importance of the collaboration and the sectoral activities. I think also the issue of transparency. Also on the climate change regime, we also have the biannual transparency reports, which need to be delivered this year. So we need to find ways that we can integrate some of this into the UNFCCC.
Okay, hello everybody, and apologies for breaking up the discussions. And also, I'm aware that this is the final presentation before we have lunch, so it's a difficult slot to have. But I'll do a quick presentation here talking a bit about the Global Environment Facility and opportunities through what we call the GEF for ways for financing the implementation of our core pledges. I'm from UNEP, but I'm the head of UNEP's GEF mitigation unit, and we focus on working with developing countries around the world on implementing their NDCs and different priorities they have around climate mitigation. So with that, let's go through the slides, please. Very briefly, this is the work we do in UNEP on GEF mitigation. So we're working with over 100 countries. A lot of yourselves here, we work with you, and also working on more than 100 projects. And this is all grant financing. What we do is we support countries to access their allocation of funds from the GEF and undertake GEF projects on their priorities. So we're very much just helping you do what you want to do and use these grant financing funds. Next, please. Just very briefly on the Global Environment Facility, the GEF, it's been around since 1991, actually. So from 1992, when we had the big environmental summit in Rio de Janeiro back then, in our pledge to move forward on action on climate and biodiversity and land degradation. And it's been financing and giving that support to developing countries over the last, more than 30 years now. What it does is that to access these funds, that's undertaken through different implementing agencies or GEF agencies, which is on the right-hand side. So UNEP is just one of them, UNDP, FAO, banks as well, and others, as many of you know and work with them already. Next, please. The way the GEF works is that every 4 years, each country gets a new cycle of funding. So you get what's called a GEF allocation, and you can use that on projects and initiatives that will support climate mitigation, promoting biodiversity, or promoting land, or efforts to restore degraded lands and reduce land degradation. So there are 3 areas that that countries receive their allocation on. There's also additional funds through the GEF for working on chemicals and waste, working on adaptation, and working on international waters as well. So this is, and we'll share this presentation later, but this is from, so every 4 years the countries get a new allocation, and we're now up to the 8th round of allocations. So countries are using the 8th round of funds. This is all public information, and up here, we'll share this presentation later. There's links where you can find information on what the GEF is prioritizing in a way, although again, anything related to climate mitigation is eligible. Supporting work on biodiversity is eligible as well, and land degradation. So these areas are very broad. And also just before you go on, sorry, also on the allocation that each country gets, what your country receives in terms of funding is public information, and it's up there. GEF 8 started in 2022, so most countries have already worked out how to assign their funds for using for projects. They don't have to execute those projects in the 4 years of GEF 8, but they have to sign the funds and commit those in that time, and that's how the agencies like UNEP help. Next slide, please, now. So GEF 9 is a new cycle of funding where countries will get new allocations of funds starting mid-year next year. The funds are all assigned through a country focal point called the GEF Focal Point to ensure that funds for these projects are going through the correct channels at the country level. And again, that's information that's public there. You can find out who your country's operational focal point is if you're not sure on the GEF website, and we'll share this again for the link. Okay, so now talking more concretely about what are opportunities for financing cooling pledges through the Global Environment Facility. There are some clear opportunities. Firstly, we have GEF 8, so the funding around GEF 8, which was started in 2022. If your country has funds that you haven't yet used, you could assign those to develop a project proposal, an idea, through the GEF. And that's where UNEP or UNDP or FAO or others, we could help you elaborate the proposal and submit it. You have to submit the proposal before June, or before the 30th of June next year, so there's still a year to go. But again, most countries have used up their funds already. But that's something to check out with your country focal point there. And the other opportunity is through GEF 9. And GEF 9 will start on the 1st of July next year. And from the 1st of July next year, countries will receive a new allocation of funds, and you can submit a proposal on cooling, for instance. Cooling is very much aligned, as we know, with climate mitigation, and with enhancing resilience and addressing adaptation. So it's very eligible. It's completely aligned with what the GEF is striving to achieve there. This is something that we've got up here, is that currently the GEF is working with donor countries and recipient countries to identify, well, what are the key priorities that we want to have in GEF 9. This is an ongoing negotiation process in a way. First meeting was held in Paris in May. The second meeting will be held, I believe, in Botswana in October, and there'll be a third meeting next year to finalize this. And up here on the screen are some of the areas that could be entry points for cooling. I believe sustainable cities could be one, climate mitigation, biodiversity, and also around the Special Climate Change Fund. Next slide, please. This is just diving in a little bit deeper. This is what we're seeing in the draft for GEF 9 in terms of the priorities of areas in the climate mitigation area that the GEF is looking at in terms of priorities. And there, cooling does come up in terms of being under the area of resource efficiency and circular economy. We might say, well, that's a bit limited in scope because I think of cooling a lot broader. And that's fine. We don't have to limit it to these areas, but that's just where the donors found a way to park there or to locate this issue. Next, please. Okay, so building upon the work that UNEP's been doing and the global pledge on cooling that we've got, we're very interested from the UNEP side of working with the GEF to create a global program in GEF 9 on cooling and extreme heat. So this is where we want to, in a way, connect the pledges here to a more clear space for financing cooling through the Global Environment Facility. Even if this program doesn't go forward, you can still do a project on cooling in the GEF. But we feel that it could be interesting to create this, where there would be a global hub, so there'd be a knowledge platform or a global initiative, which would help to develop good practices, lessons learned, and experiences around countries undertaking initiatives to address cooling challenges and to address extreme heat. And the whole idea about having some kind of global coordination, of course, is to avoid everybody reinventing the wheel, as we're saying, and starting again. How can we learn from other countries like we're having today? How can we make this more formalized or more structured in a way? So it would create like a global platform, and then countries would be able to have your own national projects which could draw on the knowledge and exchanges through this global platform. So that's something we're looking at very much there. We're very interested in working on this with other key partners. Again, for your country projects, you can do that with any of the 18 GEF agencies. It doesn't just have to be UNEP, although of course we're happy to help. Next slide, please. So this is just a bit more detail there in terms of thinking about that. The GEF as a grant mechanism is very much focused on supporting the enabling conditions. What are the policies that need to be updated? What are the regulations that you need? What are the kind of financial mechanisms that you might need in country? And the GEF project can support you to develop those. Obviously, a GEF project's being grant, it might be $2, $3, $4, $5 million in grant. So it's not the hundreds of millions we need, as we've seen in previous presentations, but it's that funding that can help you as your ministry to say, well, we want to do a lot of things, we don't have time to focus on everything, so this grant financing can come in and help you build up the conditions you need to stimulate more private sector engagement, to really help push this forward at the national level. That's the kind of work that the GEF can do. So you could look at these kind of aspects on national policies and regulations, capacity building, just transition planning as well, funding mechanisms and business models. And also, though, the funding could be used for demonstrations. How can we prove to the private sector, well, the private sector, some of them are coming forward, but how can we prove to the stakeholders that these solutions actually exist, they can make sense, and we can think of adjusting the way we design buildings or the way we work in cities to show that this works. Okay, I think next slide. I think this is the final slide, just to highlight the timeline there. We cannot submit submissions for GEF 9 before the 1st of July next year, but we can take advantage of that time to get ready, prepare proposals, so then when that time comes up, we can go ahead as soon as possible. So it's not perhaps the quickest timeline in the world, but therefore we can start to think about this, what do we need in our country in 2027, 28? How can we take use of these grant funding to bridge a gap there? Thank you. And okay, so that's all from me. I'll be around for the rest of the day, happy to provide further information on how the GEF works and opportunities there, and look forward to engaging. Thanks a lot, and back to you at Alberto and countries.
Thank you, Asher, especially for bringing, this debate about GEF 9 and how the global cooling program can be, a great opportunity for us to mobilize financial and technical support to implement the National Cooling Pledge and also other ideas. Of course, each country's STAR program also, but also as a global, and not only on the resource efficiency, circular economy, everything we debated, but especially the nature-based solution approach, which I think will be fantastic. So let's now go back to our colleagues here. So I don't remember who raised it first, but I'll pass here to Armenia, then Micronesia, okay? Then Morocco again, okay? So Armenia, Micronesia, and Morocco.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, allow me to begin the expressing Armenian sincere appreciation to the government of Germany, Italy, and United Arab Emirates for hosting us. Your leadership in conveying to meeting has created a vital space for signatories to shift from commitment to action on our most urgent and cross-cutting climate changes of our time, sustainable cooling. We also expand our deep thanks to the co-chairs of Global Cooling Pledge, Brazil and United Arab Emirates for their continued leadership and commitment to inclusive climate diplomacy. Equally, we wish to recognize the pivotal role played by the Cooling Coalition Secretariat, whose support and technical leadership have helped translate the pledge vision into the implementation strategy that's practical, actionable, and aligned with our global climate and development goals. Armenia has launched its Kigali HFC's implementation plan, aims to achieve 10% reduction from its HFC baseline consumption 2029. The plan includes a variety of measures, updating regulations, enhancing industry policies, and promoting the adoption of alternative technologies. However, we must be candid in sharing that our path forward is not without serious challenges. Limited financial resources, insufficient technical expertise, data and monitoring gaps, and institutional coordination challenges are among our key implementation challenges. To address these challenges, we will enhance international support, not only through technical assistance and knowledge sharing, but most importantly, through climate finance and constitutional fund mechanisms. In this regard, we warmly welcome Brazil's initiatives on Beat the Heat in cities, with promises to develop tailored support to cities. Sorry.
Everybody online, could you please mute the microphone?
I recipe pani for informere. Nu håber jeg snart, vi får et overblik over.
Hello, our colleagues online, if you could mute, or maybe we can mute from here. Yes, please, Armenia, I think you can come back. Sorry for that.
Sorry. In this regard, we warmly welcome Brazil's initiatives on Beat the Heat in cities, which promises to deliver tailored support to cities advancing urban cooling strategies. Armenia supports this drive and believes it will be a valuable accelerator and integrating sustainable cooling into urban development, heat-phase preparedness, and local climate resilience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Armenia, for raising, the issues around Kigali plan, the alternatives, technologies, and also for bringing climate finance into this debate. I think this will probably be one of the topics that we need to address further. So now I'll pass to Micronesia and later to Morocco.
Thank you, Chair. Since Micronesia, this is our first time speaking at this meeting, I would like to first extend our respects to the chairs, to the two chair, co-hosts, co-chairs, and everybody who's here today. I just wanted to mention a few things about SITs. So in Micronesia, there's a lack of information information on heat stress and heat-related illness. So this creates a barrier for public health policy, development, and access to cooling. The second challenge is related to the cooling pledge is the lack of purchasing power because of the small population. So this makes equipment very expensive and access to the most efficient equipment difficult. So our question, we were wondering if EPIC could help with like bulk procurement to help lower costs for small countries like us. Also, I wanted to mention that we have a few vulnerable groups in the islands, especially children at schools, elderly. So, you know, with these assistance, it could really help these vulnerable groups access to cooling, sustainable cooling in Micronesia. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to share with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Micronesia. I think you raised a new thing about the lack of information that we have on the ground on cooling, which is very important, especially when we deal with the vulnerable and the social impact of all these measures. And also, you raised the question about the cost of equipments and the procurement process. So I don't know if any experts on this, but when we shift from the refrigerated gas to these natural refrigerators, are we talking about increasing the costs of the equipments or not? Does anybody know it? Are they more expensive? Or is just a matter of scale yet, and when scale is there, it's...
Thank you very much. Yes, the upfront cost is higher, but due to bigger energy efficiency than when you see the lifetime, then it's getting cheaper. And if we have more equipment on the market, so the scaling up, then it's getting cheaper as well. So it's getting it into the market and to scale it up.
Perfect. Yeah, so maybe also the cooling pledge, we could think about how to kind of unify, standards and purchase agreements between the countries so we can speed up the process of this new, better solution with natural refrigerators. So I think the next one, I will pass back to Morocco. Sorry for it taking so long to get back. But please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you to give me another chance to talk, and I will continue in English because it's a challenge for me. So I want only to add another thing, point about the financial aspects. As I said, during the launching process of the Moroccan NCAP, and we had the third day, we had a consultation meeting with the industries concerned by the cooling sector, and yes, they are involved. They are motivated to align with the climate commitments. And we talk about Kigali amendments and our engagements in this one about 2024 and 2029, and also for MAPS, minimum energy performance, and the necessity for return. But they emphasize on the point. It must be incentive or fund to allow the industrial to be upgraded and to have the natural refrigerants and to afford the eco-friendly technologies, because it's very expensive. So this point of financial aspects is very crucial to align all the efforts of industrial with the environmental commitments. Thank you.
Thank you, Morocco, and for bringing back the financial challenging. I think this has been recurrent in the speeches, and for sure, most of the climate and environmental actions, we always get down to the challenge of the financial and the scale. So thank you. So now I think we have Dominican Republic, and later followed by Cambodia.
Thanks, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. The Dominican Republic appreciates the efforts of the government of Germany, Italy, and the UAE, the pledge co-chair Brazil and the UAE, and the Cool Coalition Secretariat for their efforts in advancing the pledge from high-level commitments to actionable implementation pathway. I want to thank for the invitation to the focal point meetings and the warm welcome to this meeting. I want to highlight some progress in the Dominican Republic first, and then the challenges. Dominican Republic is including energy efficiency measures for cooling technologies in its NDC 3.0, which is in preparation currently, as well as the inclusion of HFCs in the GHG in national inventory in order to identify mitigation measures to reduce the GHG emissions in the cooling sectors. Also, the Dominican Republic is developing a national cooling strategy. We plan to address agricultural cold chains, reduce food waste, and enhance food security to protect the most vulnerable population communities. The country also is promoting energy efficiency initiatives through the new energy efficiency law that is still pending for its approval by the Congress members. These initiatives include minimum energy performance standards, appliance leveling, and thermal comfort in buildings. Also, the DR is implementing a program through the Kigali Amendment to phase down the HFCs. In 2023, the President issued an executive decree for the implementation of energy savings and energy policy in all public administration bodies under the executive branch and high national priority. The decree establishes two categories of state consumers based on the sum of all their energy supplies interconnected to the electricity grid and set obligations for each case. It also developed initiatives on energy consumption, implementing energy savings and efficiency measures, ranging from aspects related to the temperature of air conditioner condensers, make them more efficiently. Finally, the challenges for the Dominican Republic consider that financial constraints as a key barrier to implement its cooling strategy and emphasize the need for access to innovative financial mechanisms to scale sustainable cooling technology as well as capacity building effectively. Also, as my prior colleagues mentioned, the high cost of air conditioning and refrigeration system is a barrier for the people to get those appliances. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dominican Republic. I will pass quickly so that we can move, because we have Cambodia, later Zimbabwe, Ghana, Iraq, and now Peru. Please, Cambodia.
Thank you very much, Excellency Chair, and thank you very much for the good presentation on the GEF9. Cambodia is keen to express our strong interest in applying for funding from GEF9 to support passive cooling activity in Cambodia. Recognizing GEF9 stated priority to reduce energy need for cooling, including through passive design and nature-based solution, our proposed initiative align effectively with this strategic direction. We believe that investing in passive cooling sector and strategy offer a crucial cost-effective and environmental sound approach to mitigate rising temperature and reducing energy consumption in building, especially in vulnerable community. Our comprehensive plan focus on practical implementation, capacity building, and knowledge sharing, leverage innovative passive cooling technique to deliver tangible climate benefit and enhance resilience in line with the GEF broader environmental goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Cambodia. Zimbabwe.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think for Zimbabwe and most of our developing colleagues, I think we acknowledge that cooling hasn't been a priority before, but now with the increasing temperatures and the need to promote cooling and preservation of actually agricultural produce for some of our countries, these issues of cooling are becoming more important and priority for our countries. So I do really appreciate, as Zimbabwe, there's need to explicitly pull out the issues of cooling. I think they have been silent for quite a long time. Energy, yes, I think we have talked so much about energy efficiency. I think it's the obvious. But if you then talk about cooling, it seems it continues to be hidden within certain sectors. So for us, it will be important to actually develop a cooling strategy or action plan that focuses mainly on cooling alone, as well as developing the institutional arrangements as cooling cuts across the health ministry, the agriculture ministry, the environment ministry, and other ministries. Then for us to make the appropriate decisions and positions, I think the issues of data is really a challenge to say how many cooling systems do we have, how much energy are there, how much HFCs do we have. I think we do have a challenge in terms of gathering that information. So for you to then develop an appropriate policy without information is always a challenge. So we really need to build that capacity to be able to measure, report, and verify emissions and opportunities in that sector. Then also implementing the life cycle management initiative for refrigerants with high global warming potential. These include the recoveries of a lot of SMEs who are repairing these systems. They just vent them off. But there's need to develop a system that recovers those HFCs and as well as destruction of those refrigerants. And it's also tied to these issues of the technology, avoiding the dumping of inefficient technologies with high global warming potential. Then also pilot for Zimbabwe, piloting passive cooling technology is also another priority, as farmers are losing quite a lot of their horticulture produce due to excessive heating during transit and temporal storage. So for us, those are the 4 areas that we think we could harness. And the GF9, I think we would be able to include that. We'll talk to the focal point and see how best we can reflect them better. But I like also the EPIC deploy opportunity. I think in as much as the funds are limited, I think it's also a good entry point for us to see how best we can work to make sure that we address these issues of cooling. Thank you.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. Also in this session, we are also exploring some ideas on the type of technical assistance and capacity building initiatives that would enhance our country's ability to develop and implement. How could the GF program and the capacity building efforts support on this? So, and also a question here that we haven't talked too much, how could the GF program help countries that are not part of the Global Pledge implementation, especially with data, knowledge, and coordination in the future? So other things for us to talk as we move. So after Zimbabwe, I'll give the floor to Ghana and later Iraq.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And just to thank Asha for the presentation on GEF9. Ghana is very keen in taking advantage of GEF9. Just to cite an example, in 2012, we had a partnership with GEF and UNDP to introduce a rebate scheme. And that was to support the Ghanaian consumer acquire new energy-efficient cooling appliances. You know, that was just when we were trying to enforce our regulation. And the incentive program we brought was a rebate scheme. And GEF was very much, helpful in that. So we are hoping to look at GEF9, take advantage of passive cooling, and possibly any other options that are available. But Mr. Chairman, just to quickly mention that the technological change and the price has always been an issue. But engaging manufacturers has shown that it's about economies of scale. if we are clear about what requirements we need, then the manufacturers will be able to produce to meet this requirement, and that will definitely bring down the cost of these efficient products. So just to mention that we need to find a way of engaging the manufacturers as well. I know the Montreal Protocol has made some provision to help some manufacturing lines go into low GWP cooling appliances. So we can find a way of getting the pledge, involve manufacturers or industry players to also look at how they can support us in terms of the cost of the units. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ghana. Iraq, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me the floor. According to this presentation that I saw on the previously, the last one, I'm seeking for integrity because we need to, between our effort in global cooling pledge with the GIF. So we will consider, as I think, the global cooling pledge with the cooling mitigation action. So we're gonna focus on this effort together in the future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Iraq. I'll pass now to Peru.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you everyone for the organizer for by this meeting. Allow me to share some progress and challenges in cooling sectors in Peru, who is commitment and, and actually already working on the implementation of activities focused on reduction of emission related to cooling. It is the Ministry of Production in coordination with the Ministry of Environment and of course with the support of international cooperation. It has been developing projects to assist the refrigeration and cooling sector in the transition to the new technologies. The projects have been focused on the promotion of good practices in the use of refrigerants and technical assistance for the use of the new and improved technologies, and also training programs for technicians and capacity building in the technical education institutions in Peru. Work has also been done in a public awareness component to phase out the consumption of the HFCs. All this work is aligned with the objectives set on our NDCs, actually one of the mitigation measures, and our NDC 6 to take the replacement of the refrigerants with the lower global warming potential alternative, which consists in the implementation of the Kigali Amendment. I would also like to add that Peru has recently updated its national climate change strategy, this time with the status of a national policy. And this strategy introduces prohibition in terms of mitigation and aims to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. Of course, there are still many things to be addressed. The most urgent and extreme, there is extremely hot and highly vulnerable populations, especially in the north of my country, for which we need to come up with innovation and solutions for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peru. I think we are almost getting to the lunchtime, but I see one more flag there, and I'm really sorry, but I can't. Maldives?
Yes, thank you. I would like to begin by thanking UNEP and the co-host, United Arab Emirates and Italy and Germany for bringing us together to discuss cooling in this heating world. This is something that we have been looking forward. This meeting is a meeting that we have been looking forward since the launch of the Global Cooling Pledge in COP28. For us, we must not forget that we are experiencing the changes in the weather patterns and everything, and cooling is, the demand for cooling is increasing day by day. We would like to see that within the cooling pledge that we are addressing sustainable cold chain cold chain, also within the GEF9, that we would like to see something addressing the needs of SIDS as well. And for GEF9, I had a question for the GEF unit of UNEP. If this is coming through a set aside of GEF, or if it's coming as an integrated program within the GEF9 replenishment. So if this is coming as set aside, that we would like to see how this is coming, or if this is something that you would like to the countries to go through with the star allocation as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Maldives. Especially for raising, the importance of bringing cities to this debate. And I think that we heard from most of the voices here the importance that we as a coalition address the cooling program and the actions under the cooling pledge inside the GEF9. So I think it would be good, Asher, if you can give some feedback, and also for the Secretariat also to inform us how would be the next steps regarding GEF9. Like, how could we, as a group of countries that are all have interested in the cooling, how can we all together support this process so that GEF9 considers cooling as one of the priorities? Please, Asher.
Thank you, Co-Chair, and thank you also the colleague from Maldives. I think there's two questions here, so I'll come to them both. The first one was, if I was a country and I wanted to use GEF financing to work on cooling, how would I do it? And it would be through what we call the star allocation of the country. So that's the allocation that a country gets every 4 years. And it's public information. We don't know what the allocations for countries will be in GEF9. We'll find that out only next year, but it would be a country using their star allocation or part of their star allocation for a country project addressing cooling. I think the second point brought up by our co-chair was, what could we do as a key group of countries and actors very interested in bringing this topic forward. And I think the timing is quite good, because the GEF is currently going through the process of developing up its priorities for GEF9 through a replenishment process that they call. And that's through a series of meetings held by the donor countries, who are also part of some of those countries, the ones supporting today, and the recipient countries. So it's an opportunity for all of us to go and highlight through our colleagues who are participating in this process how important cooling is, and how we believe it should be something very prominent and clear on the agenda of the GEF for GEF9, and perhaps that's something also we could think about at COP30 and that kind of thing as well. In any case, even if it's not 100% clear on the document, which is of the priorities for GEF9, working on climate mitigation and adaptation is eligible under the GEF. So even if it's not written there specifically, it is still eligible for countries to do projects in that area. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to also come in just to say that, of course, we'll stay available to work with all of you. So we're working very much in hand with Asher and other colleagues at UNEP to try to support you in taking this forward if you're interested in a GEF project. So you can always reach out to us. And also for the EPIC, I think the most important thing as a first step is to understand your interests and what it is you would like to do to address your priorities, your challenges, which you've been outlining today. And then from that, we can design the next steps, whether it's through EPIC or through the GEF. I hope that helps answer your question. And of course, for EPIC, there will be an online portal, but that's more to support you navigating in making the request. But we as a secretariat are there to work with you to formulate the request and also work with other development partners to make those requests. So we stand here ready to support. Thanks. I hope that's answered your question as well.
Yes, thank you, Lily. I was just remembering that throughout the BRS COPs that we had a month, 2 months ago in Geneva, I remember I shared a panel with Carlos Manuel Rodriguez, the CEO of GF, and he was raising us some of the concerns that because GF is also the implementing body of, you know, the Biodiversity Convention, Minamata Mercury Convention, you know, chemical conventions, like we have all the different areas inside GF, and he was raising the concern that they still don't have in the GF structure all the necessary funds to implement the conventions and agreements that we already have. And I see this from the challenge of Brazil, for example, that when we do our star allocation in Brazil, well, first, there's a lot of ministers, so everybody, you know, is trying to get a little bit more. And the decision historically has been that GF money for Brazil goes to biodiversity, majority, because biodiversity is an area that it's impossible to get budget from Congress. You know, Brazilian Congress would never give resources to protect biodiversity, so that's what we do. So perhaps one possibility would also to think about funds like the chemical fund or, you know, the mercury fund, because then you have a separated from the star. Then, you know, we can get regional projects, you can get countries together, you can share experience between, for example, Brazil and India share a lot of common things on urban heat, you know, so we have with Uruguay and our neighbor countries, we do a lot of other things on nature-based solutions. So perhaps also if we could have possibilities of allocation and funds allocation that could go for cooling, but separated from STAR, perhaps I think could be also even more effective. But I think it was a great debate. I don't see any more, oh, sorry. Tamu Nadu from India, please.
Thank you, Chair. Sir, as you rightly said, I would like to flag a certain thing which is a requirement. I think the data, I think that's something very, very essential. Recently, we took up an exercise of doing this hotspot mapping for urban heat island. And it was really time consuming, and it had also taken in so much of our investments into it. So I think the availability of the data in terms of this satellite imageries is not available to all the countries, and I think EAF should definitely be considering this technology-based intervention as one of something which all the countries would be definitely requiring. So apart from having this specific allocations, there could be some general allocations that can be worked out to see if this technological interventions in supporting this hotspots mapping, including not just heat, but also countries like us have this, you have got heat stress and or what other indices which has been included in, for example, the UHI effect is something very, very nominal, and we see a lot of this urbanization happening. So some kind of this EWS system, early warning systems integrated with this data could be one platform which could make a lot of other countries to use this as an information channel as well. So I thought I would just request GAF to consider if that could be feasible to be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any more flags, so I would like to check here with UNEP, our secretariat, UAE or Germany, our co-chairs here, if there is any extra comments or mentioning. I know we are all anxious about this GF9 thing. This for sure, it's one of the most important things we're going to debate here. Yes, okay, so Asher will be here at lunchtime, and I guess we're probably getting on the right time for lunch, so I'll get back to Gulnara for the follow-ups. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adalberto, and thank you everybody for this really very lively discussion. Indeed, the lunch is just outside to the left, to the canteen. So, let's meet back exactly in an hour so that we could continue